The following program is a sports handicapping show. That's right, we will be discussing sports betting and all kinds of other gambling stuff, including game predictions. As you know, not every bet will win, but we do our best. Feel free to use this information at your own risk, and remember, wager wisely, folks.
Broadcasting from the Vegas Video Network studios, live from the Las Vegas Strip, Covers.com presents Vegas SportsDay. And now from the sports betting capital of the world, here are your hosts, Teddy and the Professor.
It's Friday in Sin City, and you are watching Vegas SportsDay, the pulse of the sports betting world. I'm your host, Teddy Covers, joined, as always, by my esteemed colleague, the Professor, Dave Malinsky.
Coming up today, how to tell the difference between steam and fog in evaluating market moves, how a sessions player has one band in the NBA playing better tunes, and yes, there is a way that you can study before taking the eye test.
So, let's study before taking the eye test, Dave. First take on a Friday. Really entertaining night of college basketball last night, at least if you like defense and poor shooting. But some fun games, no doubt. What'd you see that you want to share with our viewing audience?
How about an eye test that failed, and we failed it? When we had the play of the day yesterday, a lot of that was anti-Portland. A lot of it for all the right reasons. But that little gamble in there, you know, in the show we talked about how Memphis had not stepped up when Zach Randolph came back, that actually had been playing a little bit worse. Well, now it's 4 games back. 1-3 straight up. The only win over the Wizards. 0-4 against the spread. Nothing all that close to a spread cover in those 4 games. Now, when Randolph came to Memphis, he brought a lot of baggage with him. But from day one, he had been a solid citizen. Largely because from day one, there were other new pieces fitting into play around him that hadn't played without Randolph before. Well, now here's a case where a team just had a nice window to play without him, played good basketball. When he comes back, they fall off a little bit. The ball doesn't move as well. The intensity level on defense isn't as good. Could this be yet one more time in which Randolph becomes a bit of a clubhouse issue with the team? We took a gamble on it. We lost. We're going to be real careful before we make our next Memphis bet. I know you didn't enjoy watching that.
No.
But you probably did enjoy watching the colleges.
Yeah, it was just fun. That Syracuse-Wisconsin game that I didn't have a dime on, that was a really, maybe the best game of the tournament from an entertainment perspective. And obviously, the clients and I were able to cash a ticket with the Florida Gators. But my first take last night, or for Friday, remember the little brackets we put out a couple of weeks ago? And they were posted in the Covers.com posting form. Dave and I talked about our picks on the show. Malinsky over here, what's he got, one Final Four team left? Well,
maybe none after tonight.
Yeah, we'll see. But my little bracket, and again, brackets, there's an enormous amount of luck involved. The bracket I posted at Covers.com, I also posted it in the free contest at ESPN. Just checked to see what was up last night. 99.9th percentile. I rank about 5,000 in the world out of well over 6 million entries. So I hope at least some of you use that for your own brackets or help you with your own brackets. And for that particular bracket, the Final Four, I got Kansas, Kansas, Kentucky, Ohio State, and Louisville in my Final Four. So we'll see how well it stays alive. But for me, again, I haven't won a whole lot of bracket contests in recent years. That's not the focus. The focus is on point spread winners. But it's kind of fun to have a bracket that's working. That was good. 12 teams left in the NCAA field. 4 more teams are going to finish their season tonight. And we're going to cover both of Saturday's Elite 8 matchups on today's show. But first, a quick follow-up to what we talked about yesterday when breaking down the North Carolina-Ohio U matchup. Kendall Marshall did not practice for the Tar Heels yesterday. It looks more and more unlikely that he's going to play tonight. He may not be able to go should the Tar Heels advance against the Bobcats this evening and play again on Sunday. So Marshall, maybe in the Final Four, we don't know. Doesn't look like he's going to go this evening. Now, let's go to the mail and set up perhaps one of the most key handicapping topics, one that does not show in the box scores and one that so many of you have sent in interesting and good letters, good emails about. But we picked this one from T-Bolin. It was a real good email. T-Bolin asked, "Hey guys, great show. I've never missed a show since I noticed you guys are running the show in February. Thanks, T-Bolin. On the Tuesday show, you mentioned some sharp money manipulated the UMass at Drexel line from the opening of 6.5 to 8. According to my notes, and yes, I actually take notes from your show, during the show aired on March 13th, you also mentioned some sharp money was pushing the total lines up for several points in those NIT/CIT/CBI games. My question is, what action do you usually take on those lines which have been rapidly manipulated by the sharp money? Do you execute option 1, go with the flow of the sharp money, i.e. take Drexel laying points or took over the posted total on the NIT/CIT/CBI games? Option 2, going with what makes sense according to your own analysis. Option 3, staying away from those games with the lines rapidly manipulated by the sharp money. Good question, T-Bolin. And Dave and I, let's discuss this because there's a lot of issues that he brought up.
Yeah, we hope that we don't make these processes too convoluted over time or make them a little bit too intimidating. But if you want to win, the first thing you have to do is not lose. And that's a big part of what we try to do on this show, is establish those basic little fundamentals: blocking and tackling, passing to the open man, taking good shots. Do the little things so that you don't lose. Well, part of what we all have to do every day is examine data, especially when it comes down to something like point spread records, which is so crucial and we see referred to so often. Now, here's part of the problem, though. For most people, point spread records are considered to be the performance of the team or the performance of the odds makers, one or the other. There's a whole third element in there: the market itself, and a constantly shifting market in a lot of ways. Now, go back to the Oregon-Washington game we talked about earlier in this week. But Oregon had this great run as a Pac-12 road dog, and then we showed how the line, though, had been adjusted down because of that. Markets do adjust, but markets also manipulate and control. And this is one of these gray areas that gets out there. We thought we smelled it when we were on the air talking about Massachusetts Drexel on Tuesday. Game opened 6.5. Looks about the right place for that game to be. Boom. You look up and it's 8. Are those people that wanted Drexel? Or were those people that were trying to create an 8 so they could bet Massachusetts later in the day? Well, what happens later in the day? The 8s disappear, as we kind of thought that they would. So to put it into simple terms, let's say that someone decides, we want this game plus 8 for a lot tonight. We can bet 10,000 at 6.5 and 7. That'll get it to 8. And we can come back and bet 50 plus the 8. That goes on a lot more than you might think. So part of the problem, as you evaluate data each day, there's that whole third wall out there that must be a part of your thought process.
Yeah, there's so much talk about sharp money, and especially out in the hinterlands. You know, I used to live in Michigan, and people are, who do the wise guys like? Who do the sharps like? When we talk about sharp money and wise guy money, what are they looking for? 55% winners is a goal for any professional bettor. They're not looking to hit 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 or 7 out of 10. They're looking to grind out a profit over time, winning 11 out of 20. In poker, you got ace king versus pocket queens, your classic coin flip, as they call it in poker. That's a 55-45. We call it a coin flip. In sports betting, that's an edge. So when we talk about, and Dave just brought up a great example, it takes much less money to manipulate an opening line, an early line, than it does to move the line later in the day. So if you can take a 52, 53, 54% gain, manipulate the number in an effort to give yourself an extra point or point and a half or 2 points, guess what? You've turned a 52, 53, 54% into a 56, 57, 58% opportunity. Those points matter. Those points add up. And again, little edges over time are what many sharp bettors are looking for. So when you see the wise guys, I'm never afraid to step in front of the sharp money. I'm not. There's no reason to be. What you see them doing with this hand is not necessarily what they're doing with this hand. You know, you'll often see moves move in one direction, they're setting something up to move right back the other way. That happens on a daily basis, sides, totals, across sports. don't be afraid of the sharp money, particularly when we're talking about some of the more public games. Now, it's one thing if you're talking about a minor Sun Belt game or something. You say, oh, wow, that number moved. Maybe somebody knows something. But if you're talking about a Big East game or an NCAA tournament game or an NIT game or any game that's on TV, no, it's not something that I would be overly concerned about.
How are you going to know when that manipulation is taking place? You probably won't, because a lot of times we ourselves don't, but we know that it's out there. We've got a game on the board tonight that would be a good example of that. If you saw the early money on Indiana, Kentucky on the total, drifting up, drifting up, drifting up. Finally, a couple of the good stores get as high as 147. What happens once the 47